Everyone, gather around. I want to tell you a story. A story about stories themselves. The kinds of stories that entertain us. The types of stories that make us cry. The stories that disgust you. The stories that make you angry. The ones that make you think. And the ones that lull you to sleep. All of these stories have something in common, and I hope when my story is through, you'll understand that no story is more important than another, and that every story deserves to be told and to be heard. Now, where to start? Once upon a time. No. In a land far, far away. Nah. It was a dark and stormy night. No, that's not it either. I know. You take your seat, and the house lights go down. A hush falls over the audience, and everyone's eyes are drawn to the stage. It's dark for a moment, and then a single light at center stage comes on, and it illuminates a little girl, barely 5 years old, and unaware of the journey she's about to begin. Her mom dressed her in a nice dress, and bundled her up in her dress coat to protect from the December cold. She and her brother got into the car, and their mother drove them to Cleveland. They walked into the Connor Palace Theater. And that is where, dear listener, our hero was first introduced to the magic of stories. That was the first live show she ever saw. It was Starlight Express by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Years later, she wouldn't be able to recall the singing or even the actors racing about the stage on their rollerblades. But she would remember that as they entered the theater, the ushers gave them their programs, and each a pair of 3D glasses, the type that was punched out of paper with one blue lens and one red lens. When the train races happened, a screen dropped down and a 3D movie would play. That memory would stick with our hero as long as she lived, and her love of that show would continue. While some would ridicule the show for its spectacle and claim it was only gimmicks and tricks created for money, for her, it was the spark that ignited her love of theater and stories. Listening to that soundtrack years later still had the power to transport her back to that dark theater when she was 5 years old, bouncing along to the music in the velvet theater chair that she was barely big enough to fit in. As she grew, our hero went to see more and more shows, hungry for the next story and the magic that was created in those theaters. She discovered stories that made her sad, stories that made her want to get up and dance, stories that made her think about the lives of others, and stories that just made her happy. She knew she must learn to create that magic herself. So she searched far and wide for the best mystics and mentors to teach her to be able to wield the magic of theater. Along her journeys, she learned that in order to be able to understand theater, she had to understand where theater came from and how it became the wondrous thing she knew it to be. Then, after years of rigorous study and poring over the many ancient texts she found it. The secret of theater. The key to the magic of theater is the story that's being told. Theater, in its most basic form, is storytelling. Take away the lights and the sets and the costumes, and there is still a story being told to an audience, and the magic is still there. For some, it begins when we're young. with bedtime stories read to us by our parents or grandparents. Sometimes they go as far as to add silly voices and to act out parts of the story. For others, they find that magic in front of their TV screens or in a dark movie theater. But no matter where that magic begins, it's the stories that spark our imagination and are the basis of theater today. All that is required to create theater is to have someone to tell a story and someone to listen. It can be in your bedroom or in a 1,000-seat Broadway house. Those stories entertain and educate us. Some lean more towards entertainment, while others aim to make us question the human condition. But we need all of those stories. The art of storytelling is as old as humans themselves. The practice of this magic has been passed down from generation to generation, regardless of culture and heritage. Stories have been an integral part of human nature. We see this in the cave paintings from the Neanderthals, depicting great hunts and how to survive in the untamed wilderness. The ancient Egyptians told stories of the gods written in hieroglyphics. These stories weren't only written down, they were passed person to person by word of mouth. And in Greece, we see the first emergence of organized theater. There, Thespis stepped out of the chorus and became the first actor. Through this research, our hero learned her purpose. In order to wield the magic of theater for herself, she realized that she had to become a storyteller. She also learned that when you become a storyteller, you do not create the magic for yourself. Your job is to create the magic for the audience. Her purpose is to take the audience away from the seat that they're sitting in and give them a glimpse into the life of a character, no matter how realistic or fanciful that character may be. She learned that she could wield this magic in many ways. By becoming an actor who tells the story directly to the audience, or by becoming an artist that helps create the story around the actor and really immerses the audience into the world of that story. Theater is a selfless job. The playwright gives the story to the director, and the director then helps the actors to interpret. The tech crew help to create the atmosphere in the world of the story, and finally, the actors deliver the story to the audience. As in any story, our hero faced challenges along her journey. Our hero believed that everyone should have a chance to experience the magic of theater, and that it should be shared unconditionally. That no matter the story, it deserves to be told and to be listened to. But there were those that did not agree with her, and wanted to keep the magic to themselves. They looked down upon those who enjoyed what they considered mindless theater. Theater that didn't try to change the world with its themes and messages. They believed that not everyone should get to experience what they considered a higher form of theater because they would not understand it. They put down and alienated those who just wanted to enjoy theater. However, our hero would not let this stop her. She would continue to share theater and enjoy it herself, no matter what others said. Now, dear listener, I know times seem dark, and it may be hard to remember the magic of theater when the world seems so bleak. However, just remember, theater will always be relevant. There will always be stories to be told, and people who will want to hear them. Theater has faced challenges in the past. Plagues, persecution, fear. Each time, theater has persevered and found new advances that continue to bring in audiences. Theater has the power to spark change in the world, but it also has the power to put a smile on your face and to make you laugh. It can take you away from the stress and pressures of the real world if you let it. Now, unlike most traditional stories, this one has no end. We won't be closing the book anytime soon. Theater and storytelling go on, and will as long as there is someone to tell the story and someone to listen.